How's it going, guys? Nintendo Enthusiast here, coming at you with another First Impressions video where I share my thoughts on an upcoming or new Nintendo Switch game. If you're new to the channel and that sounds like something you're into, maybe hit subscribe. Now, today's topic, Samurai Jack Battle Through Time. In an era full of open-world exploration-based role-playing games, there aren't a lot of high-quality linear action RPGs, and Samurai Jack is just that. Needless to say, I was excited to jump in. It's also a licensed game, and that used to have a negative stigma attached to it. But this gen, there have been a lot of licensed titles that have been great. South Park, Spider-Man, Mad Max, all those come to mind. And based off what I've played of Samurai Jack, it was obviously developed with a lot of love. In other words, it's much more than just a simple cash grab using the popular IP. The cartoon originally aired in 2001 and ran for 4 seasons. Then more recently, it got a season in 2017. I haven't watched much of the show. I did watch it as a kid, but I really don't remember much aside from some of the characters. But luckily in this game, it's easy to follow the story and understand the characters' motives without watching the cartoon. But obviously, being a fan of the show will add to the experience. First and foremost, the combat. Samurai Jack's combat is way more complex than I expected. The game actually wants you to use all of your weaponry, which is really cool. Swords, staffs, throwing stars, bow and arrows, and even guns. Not only are there a lot of weapons to use, but Jack himself has 3 skill trees, which are called Combat, Physical, and Spiritual. As you play the game, you'll collect different forms of currency to upgrade all 3 skill trees. You'll learn important new abilities from these trees, like parrying, double jump, and even new combos. Combat gets more and more intricate as you upgrade Jack. But I'll be honest, it starts off a bit basic. So if you're not enjoying it at the beginning, just power through the first few hours, because once all the new elements are introduced, you'll have a lot more in your arsenal and the combat will get way more complex and satisfying. There's nothing quite like slashing baddies in 2 or swiftly firing a bow at multiple enemies. Or, if you need, using Jack's special ending blow. Jack's Ki, I think that's how you pronounce it, allows him to take out a slew of foes in just a few seconds. It's pretty darn cool. It's always good to use Jack's Ki skill whenever there's a bunch of enemies around you and you think you're about to die. At least I would typically save it for that. Speaking of, the game is actually pretty challenging on normal mode. I've had a bunch of heated moments where I thought for sure I was gonna die and I barely made it out alive. And I've actually died a few times as well. The one-on-one boss fights are really intense as well. They sorta remind me of another recent samurai title, Ghost of Tsushima, with obviously a much lighter comedic tone. But yeah, so far a lot of the boss fights in Samurai Jack have been really creative, and I'm excited to see what the game throws at me next. One thing you'll need to do while making your way through the game is hitting all of the boxes so you can collect more currency, and that can get kind of repetitive. You'll be spending a lot of time smashing the environment, which is fine at first, but it gets a little old after a while. Alright, now let's talk about the reason why you probably clicked on the Nintendo Switch review. How does the game run on Switch? Well, of course it doesn't look as slick as its console and PC counterparts. But it doesn't look bad by any stretch. The resolution looks sub 1080p, but I couldn't get official specs from the publisher. I experienced some slowdown on Switch when things got chaotic on the screen. There's also this weird effect that'll happen sometimes where it looks like the resolution is actually decreasing. It's really odd and things get really fuzzy. However, this mainly happened during the cutscenes. And not the pre-rendered cutscenes, but the in-engine ones. The game has a great art style that pops in both TV and docked mode. The graphics are simplistic, but they're charming and they get the job done. And the environments and enemies are pretty diverse throughout. Unfortunately, some of them are just lacking in detail. As you make your way through your journey, you'll see familiar faces from the TV show, which, like I said, I haven't watched much of the TV show, but I do recognize their faces, and I think they actually brought back all of the original voice actors, which is really cool. All in all, I'm having a lot of fun with Samurai Jack Battle Through Time. It's a budget title at $40, and so far, I think that's a fair asking price. I'll be sure to leave a pinned comment if my thoughts are drastically different when I'm done with the game, which I highly doubt they will be. But anyway, thanks a lot for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up. If you didn't, hit that thumbs down. And if you're feeling really generous, hit that subscribe button and maybe even that notifications bell. I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.